and just shows us just how much we really enjoy working with NYSERDA and how important it is to be in New York and how much it's really affecting not just New York, but what we're learning everywhere. So I'm now going to introduce Sara Bayer. She's the Associate Principal and Director of Sustainability at Magnuson Architecture and Planning. And she's going to be presenting Carmel Villages Apartments, Casita Park Building, and BOE project. Enjoy.
Everyone, it's great to be with you. If you were given the opportunity to design a new apartment building in the middle of a dense city, and it was required to be carbon neutral and maybe even regenerative, how would you approach the challenge? Would you believe these goals were even possible? What would be the costs and benefits for your project, for the occupants of the building, for the city at large, and all of the other systems that this project is a part of? Here at MAP, we are continuously searching for answers to these questions. Over more than 3 decades, we have designed 100 multifamily affordable housing developments. We believe architecture now has the tools at hand to get us close to carbon neutral and even reach for regeneration. In the next few minutes, we'll focus on how we approach the path to regenerative architecture through the lens of one project example. This Carmen Villegas Apartments project is a new affordable housing building located in Harlem for seniors from the community. In the future, the owners will conduct an energy renovation on the existing building on the adjacent lot to the north. So the new building design will be mindful of ways to plan for that as well. The approach outlined here by the Passive House Accelerator and supported by many others is an excellent formula for addressing the climate crisis and allowing us to reach for regeneration. We are focused on the climate crisis, and rightly so, but it's important to remember that we're ultimately protecting biodiversity and healthy ecosystems that provide clean air, water, and nutritious food. The focus on climate is important, though, for sure, because if we have an unreliable and out of whack climate, this makes all of the other planetary boundary issues exponentially harder to solve. So here are the other categories of actions we would add to the climate action formula to address those other boundaries. Every industry is expanding their view of what their impacts are, taking more responsibility. We are witnessing in real time this occurring in the construction industry, which is working to establish ways to measure the impacts of these actions and develop the tools to document and analyze them synergistically. You can see by this more detailed summary that there are many actions we can take towards carbon neutrality and reach for regenerative architecture. Many of these are overlapping categories, and they all reinforce each other. Some of them are even code minimum in New York City. Most here are being deployed by this project or being studied closely through the NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence Early Design Phase funding, with the entire project team of the owner, designers, engineers, and GC working together to figure out how to achieve these goals. To start, we begin with passive house design because it's the healthiest and most reliable way to achieve extremely low energy use. The project is committed to FIA certification. Before the project was able to commit to Passive House, we needed to decide on a ventilation system to keep the project moving. So using a portion of the BOE early phase funding, we focused on calculating the construction cost and energy savings differentials between exhaust only and energy recovery ventilation. The paybacks shown here were acceptable to the team, and we locked in the ventilation strategy first. Soon after, we were able to determine the upfront additional costs of passive house design and certification. With a baseline of affordable housing that's already 15% better than code, as it's required to be to receive any public funding, the additional increase was only 1.5% of total construction costs. This number, though, doesn't even yet calculate the savings from the smaller heating and cooling system, which we will calculate soon. And the yearly operational savings are about $70,000. The building is also all electric and will be provided with heating, cooling, and hot water by ground source heat pumps. The bore field is intended to be sized to reserve excess capacity for the adjacent renovation. A south-facing portion of the rain screen facade cladding will be building integrated photovoltaics, and there will be solar on the roof as well. Given that we have significant on-site energy resources and a low-energy building, we are in the process of studying exactly how close we can get to net zero operational carbon. There are several standards out there now, and more are being developed that help guide these calculations. They typically involve conversion to time of use, which takes into account the carbon intensity of the grid. And they calculate refrigerant leakage and other operational uses. We need to be mindful of the upfront embodied carbon we are spending in order to create this near net zero building and make sure we are hitting the sweet spot where we optimize both with the tools we have at the moment. To that end, the industry needs to increase our capacity to measure embodied carbon, so we are modeling using the TallyCat tool, which is connected to the EC3 tool. The team is examining closely how we can lower the embodied carbon of each material. For example, we are using a combination of the search capabilities of the EC3 and collaborating with our GC's concrete suppliers to get the lowest mix possible. And we have a good start on this project by using prefabricated facade panels by Dextal. We are always looking to use carbon sequestering or biogenic materials, and these are some of our favorites. These types of materials have very low toxicity and can be truly carbon sequestering, especially if grown with regenerative agricultural practices that rebuild the soil. It is important to support human thriving with community building, design, biophilia, and healthy materials. We are also studying here how to achieve a red list-free building. The design honors the neighborhood's artistic culture with a large mural on the east facade and in the ground floor breezeway. This building is not currently in a flood zone, but it will be within its anticipated lifetime, according to the city's projected mapping. So the project will follow the requirements for flood zone resiliency, has a raised entry lobby, and the mechanical rooms are on the second floor. There will also be an area of refuge for the community. With strategic support, such as from NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence program, we can leverage this exciting moment the industry is in and move the market forward towards regenerative architecture.
Thanks, Sarah. That was wonderful. And again, very cool stuff. Everything that's in the building, everything we're learning from this, it's yet another great BOE project.